compare Brother Bear to Pocahontas simply because I think it deals with very different, obviously, indigenous groups.
Mm-hmm.
Still just as uncomfortable, I would say, as Pocahontas. Pocahontas has not held up well. I don't think Brother Bear is aging well either.
Nobody remembers Brother Bear. Like, they remember it, but nobody's gonna remember the story for what it was.
No, okay, so the little bear, what was his name?
I don't remember.
Something happened.
Okay, so the story basically goes, like, from what I remember, the dude killed his mom. And then, as punishment, the Native American of whatever tribe he was, gods, turned him into a bear.
Right, but I think that the sidekick he had, didn't know why he was moseying around.
What do you mean?
I don't think it didn't hold any attention because literally nothing happens. I don't think you find out what happened to the mother until like later.
No, it's in right at the beginning.
No.
Yeah, he just straight up kills the mom on screen.
Wait, are we talking about the... Okay.
Well, what are you talking about?
I got my stories mixed up.
You might have.
That's how much I didn't care. But now you loved it as a kid.
I did. As a kid, I loved it.
But it literally is like white noise, though.
Pretty.
You watch it and you...
It's pretty.
It is pretty.
Really
the
pretty.
animation is really well done.
Like, as a kid, I couldn't stop looking at it.
I liked how the people were animated.
Yeah, the people were actually done very well. But the moose were annoying, from what I remember.
The moose. It's all coming back.
Well, there's two, I think.
Mooses. Moose.
Moose-eye? Moose-eye?
Mooses.
It's moose.
Moose.
Yes.
Two moose.
Yes. They sucked.
But it just... I'm trying to... Yeah, I think it's going to continue not aging well then. Because Pocahontas really, for me, well, a lot of people...
Pocahontas did not age well at all.
Well, it's...
Except for Colors of the Wind. That's like the only thing that just
Well,
continues
no, but again,
on.
the music... So the music in Brother Bear, though.
No, there was no music. It was just soundtrack. There was music in it, but it turned out that it wasn't even Inupiat music. It was like tribal music. Yeah.
No, it was like Norwegian music that they passed this.
Yeah. But that's the difference between like post-Renaissance and Renaissance, is the fact that with post-Renaissance, they strayed away from all of the musical aspects of Disney.
Right, but so here's the problem with that. When you stray away from that musical structure. So the big thing in musicals across the board is that there is something called the I Want song. That is a moment for the character to express their internal struggle of what they want. And Disney used that in the previous, in the golden age, second golden age. That's the formal term. Second golden age of animation. To tell the story. They used the I Want song as the platform. And in a lot of these films, particularly in Brother Bear, there's no real... I'm not saying there is no motivation.
Well, that's actually, from what I remember, that's basically what it's about, the lack of motivation. Because the guy...
There's no reason for a lot of this to be happening. Or...
It's just...
Maybe there is, and there's not enough there to make us care.
It's just a very simple change my mind story. Like, it's basically like this dude, like, I think, like, his spirit animal was a bear, and he was like, no, like, that's dumb, I don't want to be a bear. Ends up becoming a bear, and then, like, throughout, like, the adventures with the little kid bear, he's like, okay, bears are cool. Like, that was basically the payoff to the movie. Because it was just him not being...
Right, so
like,
that plot would sound great for a made direct-to-DVD or a TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is enough to warrant people paying for a ticket, watching this in the theater. Like, it just doesn't have the payoff to me.
No, the payoff is very minimal in the movie.
And the animation is good to look at.
It is.
That's another one that it deserved better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Except it didn't get it.
So, watch or not watch?
I mean, your kid will like it.
It's not bad. Like, it's not a movie. It's not like Chicken Little,
where it doesn't try too hard with cultural references, right? There's almost none, I'm pretty sure, in Brother Bear.
Well, they kept it very generic.
Yeah, it's just a generic movie that kids would enjoy.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I mean, you'll probably just be there watching it with your kid just cause, or you'll probably leave the room and do something else.
Right. Like, it's a Disney movie. It's safe. They can watch it alone.
Yeah.
Not going to add anything else to your life.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we've reached the 2 golden points of this place, which I will start with the weakest of the 2. So, Emperor's New Groove.
That is just joy.
That is more than joy. That is sassiness, joy.
But
that
duo,
so good.
I mean, they don't get together enough.
Yeah,
they're real. Oh my god. Well, okay, so it's David Spade,
and
John Goodman. But I think the saving grace for that movie is the fact that they did get seasoned comedians who knew how to work off timing, and the storyline. It was something was sort of always happening. It was not a slow-paced movie at all.
And the good thing about it was, like, as outrageous as the beginning of the movie is, because you have Tom Jones singing an opening song, so yeah, it's gonna be great. It's a humble story. An extremely humble story. Because even though the main character is extremely out there, and always, like, you know, everything's about him. Like, that's his thing.
But so David Spade's character
Cusco
turned a new leaf.
Yes.
But you cared. That's the difference.
You care. Like, so much. Like,
you're invested.
But the thing is, he turns into, but he doesn't completely. What he does is he learns to negotiate rather than just do what he wants. Because his entire life was basically handed to him. But then, like, whenever, like, the people would come up to ask him for things, he just wouldn't care, brush it off. Whereas he was basically going to tear down Podger's house.
Right, but that's not mean-spirited. He legitimately didn't know better. He really didn't know any better. So you cared, and he had the charm. I mean, charm matters. You have to like them to some degree.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you're just watching an asshole on screen that you don't care what happens to.
Exactly. And the good part about it is the villains. Well, I don't really call Krunk a villain.
Oh my gosh, who voiced...
Yzma? I don't know, honestly. I have to look that up.
Well, I think the villains were funny, too.
Well, extremely.
They were hilarious.
Like, everything about Krunk and Yzma was fantastic.
There were points I forgot that I wasn't on that team. Like, I was supposed to be on Cusco's team.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, like, they explain that Yzma was basically the one who raised Cusco. Like, his entire life, and that she spoiled him, gave him whatever he wanted, just because she wanted him to give her the throne.
And see, another moral. Going back to the moral in every story, that there is something for parents to take away from it.
Yeah.
That you're not helping, you're doing a disservice by giving your kid everything.
Yeah. And then, just Krunk's an idiot, but he's a lovable idiot. Like, I have a lot of problems with the Disney comic relief. Like, a lot.
Why?
Because a lot of them now are just stupid. Like, I don't like Olaf, no matter what anybody says, because he's just stupid. There's nothing else to him.
He likes warm hugs.
I don't care what he likes. I do not care, like, because he has no other, like, he's the character's nostalgia because they made him as little girls, but then after that, there's nothing to him.
Well, I think what makes Olaf charming was Josh Gad's performance. Josh Gad? Josh Gad.
I believe it's Gad.
Josh Gad's performance. Because Olaf could have gone to the point of annoying. And I think that's what he reached for you.
He was there the entire movie, yes.
But there is a charm to him because a lot of people really gravitated towards him, adults included. So...
I don't know why. Like, I can compare that to this one robot in Treasure Planet.
Do you? Is it also his design?
No, the design doesn't bother me. I get it. Like, the design reflects perfectly on what he's supposed to be. I just don't, like, I'm not a fan of it. And the thing is, with Treasure Planet, there's this robot named Ben. And Ben is super annoying. He's like this extremely high-strung, over-the-top character, just like Olaf, that just wants friends. And the only reason I tolerate Ben as much as I did is because they introduced him at the very end of the movie. But they made him have a role. Whereas Olaf was just there to be there. He was just there joining the crew.
So do you think so Olaf to you is my gargoyles. Not the gargoyles, I'm sorry, the statues in
they are gargoyles, yes. I thought you were talking about the series and I was about to get very upset. Anyways.
Another video.
But no, that's why I don't like characters
you.
like Olaf.
Their presence irritates you.
Yeah, like the gargoyles and Hunchback. They don't serve much substance. Other than, the only thing I respect them for is they show how Quasimodo isn't extremely depressed by now because he at least had them.
Okay.
Like, that's their role, basically.
We're getting off track here. So we're going to go back to Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
I think we can unanimously agree here. It's worth checking out.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Like, not only, like, first off, that beginning song is so good. And it's simple. Like, it's not, like, Disney extravagant. It's just really fun.
Now, do you think it is, being that it's set in the, I don't want to say, is it Aztec or Mayan?
Mayan. It's supposed to, it's Mesoamerican.
Okay, so Mesoamerican would be the proper term.
Yes.
Would it fly now?
Oh yeah, easily, because the thing
I never found it mean-spirited.
No, because the thing about the Emperor's New Groove is the fact that they don't pay attention to the culture as some of the Renaissance era movies, or even the movies now. They pay strictly attention. They put the culture in great detail. And that's and that's great. It's what makes a good background for a movie. But with The Emperor's New Groove, you don't need that because it's not telling you about the environment. It's telling you the story of one person and how he can affect others' lives.
Okay, so The Emperor's New Groove could have worked in any setting because the characters were just that likable.
Exactly.
All right, definitely worth checking out.
Now, for the final one of the post-Renaissance era, Lilo and Stitch.
All the feels.
Hands down, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay, I really love the movie, but all time,
yes.
I'm gonna let you have...
Well, that also just delves into my interests, outside of Disney as well. Because Lilo and Stitch created, they gave you Stitch, which is just fantastic. And then on top of that, it introduces the whole lore of all of Jumba's other experiments. But that's later down the line. But it gives you that introduction, so then when they end up doing something with it later, now it's okay, but, yeah, cut that out, whatever. Yeah.
Well, I think...
I'm trying to find my footing here.
I think the Hawaiian culture, I'm not Hawaiian, but what I liked about it is that they used the culture and the environment to further express the thoughts and the feelings of the characters.
Yes.
The particularly heartbreaking scene, which gets me every time, is when Nani is singing Aloha to Lilo right before social services is scheduled to take her away. And because the song is about, saying goodbye to a loved one. So it just tied in so beautifully and so sad.
Yeah.
It's gut-wrenching to watch. It reminded me a lot of The Lion King in the sense of seeing the dead body and hoping that Simba's dad would wake up, but he didn't. And I think it's okay to sometimes not make everything so pretty. The importance of showing that life happens and life can suck. And, how many children out there in this world go through what Lilo and Nani were going through. and maybe it helped them.
Yeah. And actually, one of the best things about the movie, in my opinion, is the subtleties in it. For example, like the you brought up like the social worker earlier. That subtlety is by far my favorite. If you look at how he's designed, because this is what I thought as a kid. You look at the design from a kid's point of view, you don't, obviously as a kid, you're not really going to know what social services is unless you've had experience. But he looks like a really just shady government agent. He's in like this all black tux with these black shades. I mean, at the end of the movie, you find out like he's part of the Galactic Empire, which, cool. But like, when you're looking at it strictly from that point of view, it's like, alright, like, he's obviously, like, some big bad guy here just to kind of take her away. This is from a kid's perspective.
Well, I think he was just very serious. Like, you knew if something bad was happening.
Yeah, but it's not only him as a character, but it's his design.
Yeah. Well, like, the delivery. Because he wasn't menacing.
No. But as
you knew
a kid,
he meant business.
Yeah, and as a kid, you're terrified of that.
Absolutely.
But then when you get older and then realize it's like, oh, he's just social services, it's like, oh, this is... Okay, so, no, with Mr. His name is Cobra Bubbles. That is fantastic.
Cobra Bubbles. I forgot that was his name. That is everything.
But with his, like, and you're right, with the delivery, like, he's not menacing, but he gets a very serious tone because he has a very serious job.
Right.
And that's what makes it.
Well, and there are times where I find, maybe I'm wrong on this, but when he's in the scenes with Lilo, it's often shown from her perspective.
Yes.
Like, so you see the intimidation factor between her and him, you know, as she's looking up at him. What I also really love about this movie is the Elvis references, and I guess Elvis is a thing in Hawaii, I'm not sure, but I loved it.
Yeah, the Elvis references were really good.
And they poked fun at tourists and how tourists behave.
Yeah.
That was great.
Because even though, like, it's a very obscure story about, like, the whole aliens, like, coming and, like, Stitch being all menacing and destructive, it's a very, very much more human film.
Yes.
It chooses, instead of focusing on all, like, the really wacky things, which, I mean, they do, like, later, like, when they create the series and, like, some of the other movies, but at least for the first film, they focus it a lot more on the human aspect, and it wasn't about, like, alright, let's just make Stitch good, and that's the only thing we're gonna focus on. It's how he's going to affect their lives as people as well.
Well, and what I like about Stitch a lot, because I think Stitch is a character that he can also get. He could have gone the annoying route very easily, is that he held up the mirror for the family.
Yeah.
And so even though he tore a lot of things up, literally and figuratively, he also showed them that a family is literally what you have around you and what you make of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes life happens where you have to cling on to circumstances and cling on to what you have only in front of you. And it's not always the nuclear family, or it's not always, you know, even just your biological family. It could just be your friends and whoever has your back. Yeah.
And that's honestly it's the biggest takeaway from the movie, because the movie is about, like, that broken family dynamic, even though it worked out for them.
Can we also just bring up the fact that Lilo couldn't feed the fish tuna because it was an abomination?
Oh, it is an abomination.
That kid is amazing.
Like,
that kid is amazing. So, I think we both agree, underrated classic. It's incredible.
I don't... See, that's where I have to disagree. I don't think it's underrated. Because I feel like that's one movie that gets the respect it needs.
I don't think enough people have seen it.
Really?
I think it's...
But then again, that's also a generational gap thing.
Right, and that's where so, I think because Lilo and Stitch might have come sandwiched in with a lot of films, I don't think when it was released, though I know it made money and it was a success, it should be up there with, like, the love that the other films got in the second Renaissance. Now it is, but as far as it being critically acclaimed, I think it got hosed a little bit.
Yeah, it did. That was one of the best storytellings in Disney for me.
All the feels.
Oh, excuse me. But so overall, with the post-Renaissance era, the biggest takeaway is the fact that it's not going to be the Renaissance. It's not the same structure, it's not the same tone of what the Renaissance era had.
I think that some of these movies actually did have potential. I think that what was happening at the time in the studio was maybe less money was being put into the hand-drawn animation department. I know that was a problem. But I also think another major problem is they were afraid of taking risks. I think a lot of it was just very formulaic. Like, they had already run the formula of the musical and the coming-of-age stories in the Second Renaissance. It had just run dry. They were trying to find something, and when things kept backfiring, they just kept trying to fall back on old habits with newer stories.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, it missed, outside of a couple of hidden gems here.
Telling you, Treasure Planet.
I guess I have to watch it.
You wanna see taking risks. That movie's good. That movie is so good. I cry every time.
I guess I'll have to bite the bullet.
But the biggest
on the range.
Okay, yes, but listen. Let it go.
Let it
No.